Welcome, welcome, welcome to Empowered Women in Business International Radio. I'm your host, none other than Nicole Mosby Taylor, aka Taylor K on the mic, and you are in for a phenomenal treat. We have a phenomenal guest, a beautiful queen. I mean, she's beautiful on the outside and inside in our audio, in our studio today. So sit tight, enjoy. But first, I know you're saying, what is Empowered Women in Business International? Empowered Women in Business International is a sisterhood of women entrepreneurs who understand that individually we can do great things, but collectively we can forever change the world. Member of our movement experience a support system that allows them to celebrate their wins and share their struggles in a series of opportunities that enhance them personally and professionally. If that sounds like an organization you would like to be a part of, visit us on our website at www.ewbiradio.org. Again, that's www.ewbiradio.org. So we just had a comment and I missed it. Let's see if it'll come back through. But welcome, 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 everyone. LaShonda says, blessings. Blessings to you too, Queen. Thank you for tuning in this evening. So we're going to go ahead and get started. But first, I'm going to read you a quote, and then we're going to go straight to our video so that we can get started this evening. So our quote for the evening is, she was powerful not because she wasn't scared, but because she went on so strong despite the fear. She was powerful not because she wasn't scared, but because she went on so strongly despite the fear, by Atticus. And you will understand why I selected that quote in a few minutes. So sit tight and let's watch this video.
Tonight, the U.S. Army is responding to our exclusive CBS News investigation into sexual assault in the military and acknowledging they must do better. Over the past year and a half, we spoke to nearly 24 survivors from all branches of the service who say their allegations were brushed aside or even met with retaliation. Well, tonight, we talked with 4 soldiers who say the military's program to combat sexual assault is broken and that the Pentagon shouldn't be allowed to police itself.
We're supposed to feel safe with our brothers and sisters in the military, and they're the ones hurting us.
Mei-Ling Jerez was among nearly 24 survivors who spoke to CBS News about their alleged assaults. She was raped the first night in her barracks, and she reported it.
Did they take it seriously?
No, they didn't. They said that I was a distraction that came into their platoon.
You were raped a second time, a year later.
This officer arrived at my home and said he needed to search my home. And after I let him in, I was violently raped. Even though I was bleeding, I had bruises, the proof was on my body, and yet I didn't think it was going to be enough.
Sarah Jawakam-Staller says she was sexually assaulted during a training exercise last year by a soldier who outranked her.
Were you afraid at first to report it?
Yes. If you're a specialist and you report a commander or even just a senior sergeant, then it's really just point blank, like you don't have the rank to put forth the fight.
Only 1 in 4 service members who are sexually assaulted actually report the crime. Many, like Armando Perez, don't.
This leader of mine took me under his wing. He groomed me so that he could abuse me. He also was the prevention officer who I would have to report it to.
The person you would have had to report it to was the person who was doing it to you?
He was a prevention officer. So I had to sit there, and whenever he would do the presentations for prevention and just be embarrassed and ashamed that he was the person who was doing it to me.
We took a look at the military's data since 2015. Despite an increase in reporting, fewer sexual assault cases are being sent to court-martial, and convictions are dropping. Shauna Culp says she was raped in 2010. She reported it, but her case didn't make it through the military justice system until this year.
By the time it finally got to a court martial, your rape kit had been destroyed.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was just frustrating because you put up with all this and you try to get something done, and by the time that it finally gets done, it's like just close enough.
And just close enough because at the court martial, your assailant was acquitted because only 5 said he was guilty, and you needed 6?
That was still a majority of the people. So I feel like everything is set up against you no matter what.
Survivors told us what came after the assault was often worse than the assault itself.
I faced immediate and consistent retaliation.
After you reported your assault, you were stripped of your rank.
Yes, ma'am. They were trying to break me down. They just go after you because you're the victim and you're the problem.
How many of you think there needs to be something massive that happens, like a Me Too movement for the military?
All branches across the board, all of us need to be able to feel like we can speak up and that you're never alone.
When you compare it to other traumatic events that happen to people, whether it's a shooting or combat, you're experiencing that with other people. So you know visually and physically that you are not alone. When a rape or a sexual assault occurs, it's happening to you alone. And when I saw more people reporting it and more people speaking on it, I stopped feeling as alone.
That was so beautifully said. It's like the loneliest trauma that you can experience.
It's this shame that you carry, and it's this anger and embarrassment that you carry with yourself, but it's not yours to carry. It belongs to the abuser that did it to you.
Well, after declining our request for an interview, the U.S. Army is just tonight responding to allegations made by survivors and their families. In a new video, Army Secretary Ryan McCarthy says, quote, "If we do not have the trust of America, nothing else matters."
I am deeply saddened and concerned by the recent news reports of how sexual assault and sexual harassment have plagued our force and brought harm to our soldiers. This topic has captivated the attention of America and our Army leaders, and it is abundantly clear we must do better.
And that is new just tonight. McCarthy promising to unveil a new plan of action by December 8th and admits that the Army's current program to combat sexual assault isn't working. Well, tomorrow on CBS This Morning, we'll hear from victims advocates hired by the military who agree and say the Pentagon ignored their concerns as well.
So it was so important for us to hear from beginning to end that clip, not because this is Sexual Awareness Month, but because it's happening in all facets. It's happening in the military. It's happening to everyone that we, to people that we know, everyday people that we know. And we have to bring awareness to these sexual acts, these sexual violent acts. So without further ado, I just want to bring to the stage our guest, LaQuisha Hall, who has been a champion to stand by survivors. She's a survivor. She highlights different survivors doing positive things in the community as well. She is a phenomenal woman, and we're going to, without further ado, we're going to bring her to the stage just to say thank you for coming on today, Queen. Thank you for all of the work that you are doing. You're doing some amazing work, and I can't wait to really dig into the work that you're doing. But before we do, since we just showed the clip, do you want to just share your thoughts on the clip?
So first of all, hey, Queen, hey. I'm so grateful to be here, not just in this space with you, but to be alive. My initial thoughts were, I know that story. In my very first She Rose Awards in 2016, I believe, I honored Dr. Cecilia Martin. And she is a survivor of rape, and it happened in the military. And so my mind and my thoughts immediately went to her when I heard those testimonies. But also, I was just thinking about all of the different spaces that people are traumatized in. So it's not, as you mentioned, not just the military, but it's schools, it's churches, it's homes, because we have this perception that it always happens in that dark alley with the boogeyman. Well, boogeymen sometimes are people that we trust. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about that tonight.
Yes. Well, thank you. And that was why I had to have you on my show in particular to really highlight what's going on, because so many people are suffering in silence. So many people have experienced this and they still haven't. So when we look at the statistics and we see these high numbers, just understand and know that these are not correct numbers, because you still have so many people who suffer in silence and they don't get the help and they don't, let anyone know that this has happened, this traumatic experience. And, we talk about ACEs, we look at ACEs, but, this trauma is a serious score with ACEs. And then we have these adults growing up and they carry this baggage, this heavy weight. And then how do we expect them to function as someone who hasn't experienced something such as this?
Mm-hmm.
So I just thank you for highlighting. Tell us a little bit about your work with sexual assault.
Well, first of all, the work started with me, Nicole. I had to get to a place of starting my own healing process before I could help anybody else. I think that's essential for people to hear, because sometimes what I want to emphasize right now is people see the photos and maybe the graphics and the Bible journaling and the artwork, and they're like, "Ooh, I want to do that." And oh my God, they don't know the real work that was behind all of what they see today, right? So it was a lot of tears, it was a lot of hurt, it was a lot of broken relationships in that process. The journey is the part where people want to dodge, but that was where I started. So
well, do you want to share your experience first and then we can move on?
Yeah, sure. So
Okay.
well, first of all, I want to share that it is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So if you have anything, Teal, please wear it and tell people why you're wearing it, and remind others that they're not alone. It's important for survivors to hear that. Thank you, Nicole. I see you, girl. Look, I don't have my teal shirt on, but I definitely have my ribbon. I always have something teal or purple. But I was sexually abused by a pastor in my youth for 2 years, from the ages of 14 to 16 years old. He was well known in my family, and also because I am from the South, unfortunately, there was some incest involved. And so in an effort to protect my family and not hurt them, I kept it to myself. I was also afraid that if I said something, that it would be me against a man of God. And I just felt, because of all of my past mistakes, and I wasn't the perfect child and no one was going to believe me, right? And he, I believe, preyed on that, knowing that I had low self-esteem, that looked down on myself, and that I probably would feel that way in regards to what was taking place between us. And so a lot of times the young people or the adults who are victimized in this way or traumatized in this way are people who are groomed or preyed upon for an amount of time prior to it actually happening. So some people have experienced rape where it's a sudden event, but then there's also abuse where there's a grooming process. They're trying to gain your trust. They try to build you up in a way to make you feel that they're on your side, and then they take advantage of you, and you're in a spot where you're like, I don't know what to do, because I thought this was a person who cared about me, right? And so that's what happened. And then at the age of 16, I left home in an attempt to escape the abuse, and I still carried the secret with me until I turned 18 years old, and I finally told my dad at that age. I will say that when I finally revealed my dark secret to my family, initially it was not well received, and it was absolutely earth-shattering for me, because I just knew that when that came out, because he was a man of God, that he had to tell the truth because he's connected to God. And then I also felt that, once it comes out, it's just roll after that. But it didn't just roll. I still hit a block because, I had to then what I felt prove myself to people. And so that was extremely difficult and led to other issues, mental health issues. I went to college because I thought, getting away from home was going to be the key and the answer. But what ended up happening was I tried to commit suicide in the freshman dorm, my first year in college. And it was just an overflow of negativity in my head, and it took up so much headspace that I just felt that there was no purpose in me being here anymore. And so as a result, I started to find my healing process through grounding my relationship with God. And so that was the start of it. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear that. I just wanted to mention that everybody's healing process is different, but that was how mine started. And I'm so grateful to God. And, a lot of people have asked me, and I'll go ahead and address it. I'm just so surprised that you could still serve God after being abused by a man of God. One of the things that I think is really important to note is that the human cannot be held accountable for what, or the God can't be held accountable for what humans do.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so I was able to separate the two, form my relationship with him, and start my own healing process.
Wow. Well, thank you for being so transparent, Queen. That's amazing. So we understand what you had to go through, and how did you find the help that you needed from that, suicidal place that you were in?
So I'll tell you, Nicole, it definitely wasn't easy. It was actually quite embarrassing, being taken to a hospital from your dorm and everybody talking about it, and then you have to return to that dorm afterwards. It was extremely difficult. Mm-hmm. I'll be honest with you. I didn't take the traditional route that people suggest. So, a lot of people, when they hear something like what I've experienced, they'll say you need therapy or counseling and so on and so forth. I did not go that route, primarily because I didn't know to go that route. There weren't a lot of people talking about this issue when I was in the midst of it. And so the route that I initially took was through church. And so my counselors were the clergy, actually, of the church that I rededicated my life in. And to this day, I'll never forget, it was at God and Light Apostolic Church in Camden, North Carolina. I was, in going to school there in Elizabeth City. And this church took me in like I was family. They took me in a way not only that I needed as a survivor of abuse, but that I was longing for as belonging to a family unit, right? And so I had a bruised relationship with my mom at the time, and some, family overall. I think I was seen as like the troubled child. And so as a result, I felt ostracized from my family. And so I found solace in my church at the time, and I didn't need anything, prayer, food, clothes. They just helped to provide all of my needs at that time. Wow. And I'm still forever grateful for them.
That's what church is for.
Absolutely.
When we think about all of the things that church is for, that is what is there to kind of be that resource, to be that guide when we need it. And thank God for your church family back then, because it sounds like they were more than just a church, but like a church family for you.
Absolutely, yes.
So you were able to get what you needed so that you could get through college, which is amazing, because to go through, like you said, to have to go back to that same dorm room, just understanding and knowing how that could have made you feel around the whispers, and just to take that leap and continue on, and not only continue on, but to be successful at it. So you did get your degree. So that in itself is just amazing. Like, I'm just like floored just from that piece right there. And then you went on to be this phenomenal woman. So when did you start your first organization?
Right, because I got so much going on.
Yes.
So immediately after graduation, I moved to Maryland and became a teacher in Baltimore City. And so I'll even tell you then, I still wasn't ready. And it wasn't until after my first pageant, where I had shared publicly for the first time on stage and answering an interview question that I was a survivor, that I started to feel confident in publicly sharing that. And so I learned through that experience. It was the Mrs. Christian International pageant that people wanted to hear what I had to say. So I came from a background and a past, most of my family, where I felt like if I was around them, I needed to be quiet about that or not mention it and things like tiptoe around it. But when I said it on that pageant stage and the way people received it afterwards and how they were coming up to me and just talking about how brave I was and asking me how I got the courage to say what I said, oh my gosh, this is amazing how I'm feeling right now. I felt heard. I felt appreciated, and this was by complete strangers, right? They just wanted to congratulate me for winning the pageant. So I wanted to offer that same feeling to others, like allow them the opportunity to have that space and platform to say publicly, this is what happened to me, and then have that feeling of walking off the stage, so to speak, and people saying, wow, you're courageous. I wanted them to feel that too. And so after years of volunteering for various organizations that are very well known, like RAIN, Stop the Silence, and other organizations similar, and even local ones to Baltimore, I started a program called She Rose Awards, which was a gala that I was hosting annually for survivors of sexual assault and domestic violence. And I called them unsung because these were people who were coming out with their stories for the first time. And they were presenting their story to an audience who would receive them the way I was received in that pageant. And so for years I had done that, and that wasn't the first organization I started, but that was the first targeted organization for sexual assault and abuse prevention.
Awesome. So I'm thinking of some of your awardees that I know, and I mean, they're amazing. And then a lot of them have went on to start their own organizations, probably because you gave them that power. You gave them, we'd hear about people taking the power from us, but you gave them that power when you gave them that platform to share their story. So how amazing.
Absolutely. And I'm so proud of them. And I just wanted to share quickly that one of my first honorees was actually, she was an adult at the time that she shared her story, but she was actually one of my 9th grade scholars originally. So I'd known her for years. We went through this whole process when she was my student. And, I knew her story. She was a part of my other program, Queen of Tea, which I'm sure we're going to talk about.
Yes.
But I was her mentor for years. And then when I started She Rose Awards, she contacted me and she said, Ms. Hall, I think I'm ready. And I was just overwhelmed because I was like, Lord, I would have never thought that you'd pull a child from my classroom out as an adult to finally speak the truth. So she's one of the people, and all of them I'm very proud of, the honorees, but she's one of the ones that, like, I feel like if I were to leave this earth today, I know she would continue to work.
Wow, that's amazing. So not only are you doing the work, but you're creating an opportunity for your legacy to continue on, even, when that time comes. So that is, I mean, I'm really just blown by. I know I keep saying it's amazing, but I just, really feel like this is amazing. And I think Miss Jackie feels the same way. I know she said phenomenal and awesome.
Thank you, Miss Jackie.
So if you guys are tuning into Empower Women in Business International right now, please hit the share button. Somebody may be blessed from this queen's story, and we want to make sure that they hear it. So please hit that share button. Also, if you have any questions or comments that you would like to leave for myself or LaQuisha, please feel free to do so in the comment section. So so you started this organization, you have this phenomenal awards gala for victims, survivors. We're not going to say victims, we're going to say survivors.
Yeah.
And so what does it look like? Is this an extension off of something else that you're doing, the gala itself?
Yes, that's a great question. So because we have transitioned into being home, of course, I was hosting the gala in person, but of course, there's a lot of uncomfortability with being out and about right now, and completely understandable because I share that uncomfortability. But I have extended it through another passion of mine, and so I am an artist and always have been, but kind of like tapped into it a little more around the time that I started She Rose Awards, and I joined this art community that does creative journaling and Bible journaling and things like that. And so it dawned on me that, you know, the impact that I was making in person in Baltimore could also be made online. And so, but I needed to cater it to what the people in that space and who were in the audience would be comfortable with. So we were all artists. So I just planned it out. I said, is there anyone willing to create products that I can donate for free to people who are willing to help me spread the word about sexual abuse prevention and also domestic violence? And so people who had shops came out the woodwork creating printables, as we call them, with graphic images that could be used in journaling, featuring the colors teal and purple. And I uploaded them to my Facebook group called Confident Canvas, which is also my Instagram name in the art community. And so I created a campaign called Reveal Your Teal. And there's a second one called Restore Your Royalty, which I focus on in October for domestic violence. But right now, currently in April, there are a lot of people in the art community using the color teal in their artwork and sharing messages of hope in the captions for people who might look through that hashtag and be seeking for something. So we're sharing resources there, beautiful artwork, messages of hope. People are sharing their stories. I've been contacted by people who are saying, I've never said this publicly before, but I'm feeling encouraged now, and they're sharing for the first time. And I know that I was privately contacted by a lady who told me that the campaign gave her the courage to finally tell her family. And while she didn't get the response she wanted, she said she walked away feeling so empowered, which was exactly the same feeling I wanted to create through She Rose Awards. So I'm so proud of the Reveal Your Teal campaign.
Awesome, man. You are doing some phenomenal work. And so what if a person is listening who is a victim to this and haven't been able to get the help that they need? What would you tell them?
So first of all, there are national resources that will direct you to a local resource. So finding your local resource is key because, of course, national organizations are very widespread. So going to a website like RAINN.org, which is RAINN, it stands for Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. They actually have an online chat, which I used to volunteer for a few years, where they will help you on the spot, not only with processing how you're feeling in the moment, but also with identifying a local place that you can go to for help, or the process and steps that you should take, and they cater them to your state. And so, this is a national network that will supply the needs and resources for individualized purposes. And I think that's a great place to start. I also would love to share that if someone is being victimized online, NSVRC, which stands for the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, so many organizations, but they have an online platform as well where you can reach out and receive help. And they also have resources for people who are trying to learn more about that. And I'm mentioning that because a lot of us are virtual now, and we don't consider that sexual assault also occurs online.
And maybe for that person, right before we go to break, maybe you could just share what that looks like, you know, to someone who's like, how could someone be assaulted online?
So I got the perfect clear example that happened a lot, that I think a lot of us in our society just kind of brushed over as an incident. If you remember when students had started to matriculate into going to Zoom for class, we learned of something called Zoom bombings. And so people would often jump on Zoom and infiltrate the screens with derogatory words, images, and things like that. Well, if young people were exposed to pornography, that's online sexual abuse and assault. So, because that's not the exposure that they're expected to have online or offline. And so when you reveal that to them or put that before them, you're exposing them to sexual trauma. And so that's the biggest way, is by sharing pornography virtually. Also, when people reach out to young people or even adults and ask for pictures of them, nude pictures, or try to entice them into a sexual conversation, those are all forms of online sexual assault. They are all just as illegal as the physical sexual assault, and also there are resources for support in that field. And I really think this is an area where, since we're all virtual, we need to be well versed on to protect our young people especially.
Awesome. Thank you for those resources. Those are important. If we could see the comments before we go to break, so we can mention, we did have a couple comments. My husband saying he's on. He always says, thank
Hey,
you.
honey.
And Jackie said amazing. I think I mentioned that. So my husband said that you are courageous and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Miss Jackie says, you have given so many women a voice for their secret pain and serial abuse. So courageous.
Oh, thank you, Miss Jackie.
Oh, you have given so many women a voice after secretly hiding their sexual abuse and assault. That's so true. That's so true. So I just wanted to acknowledge our viewers because they are leaving comments. And if you are listening, don't hesitate to put a comment or question for myself or LaQuisha. We would love to answer it. And if we can't answer it, then we'll get back to you with the answer. So keep it locked to Empowered Women in Business International Radio. We're going to go for a brief break. Welcome back to Empowered Women in Business International Radio. I told you it was a brief break. Just a chance to drink a little swallow of water and come right to our guest. So LaQuisha, you were just telling us about the Shiro Award Gala, and then you mentioned the Reveal Your Teal.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other organizations that you have in conjunction around sexual assault?
Well, it's not directly sexual assault focused, but it was definitely grounded in protecting our young ladies. So it's actually my organization that I first started, which you honored me for in 2016 with a guy named Light Oh Boy, which I still like hold dear to my heart. Yes, I appreciate you. That just giving me that plaque gave me the nudge to keep going. But in 2008, I started Queendom Tea, which is a mentoring program for young ladies that I've primarily hosted in Baltimore City, but I've also extended to other counties in Maryland, as well as traveled internationally and supported a group of girls from all over the world in Switzerland. And so my goal here was to provide a space for young ladies to talk about those things that maybe adults can't receive well because they're ready to admonish young people. And so that was my experience growing up. I felt like if I just said, you know, I like this boy, it would turn into a shouting match of, you supposed to be focused on school, and why are you thinking about boy, you know, that kind of thing. And I really just wanted someone to hear me out and maybe give me some advice on how I should feel and how to navigate that tough part of my life. So Queendom Tea served that role in a lot of girls' lives over the past, oh my goodness, I don't even know how many years, almost 2 decades now. So
Wow.
I have seen literally the first cohort of girls grow up into young women who have started their own business, who have their own families, who got married. I mean, it's just incredible to see. I feel like I'm getting old.
I think look, I just had one of my former mentees. She was actually my first vice president for my organization come back, and she was it was virtual, but she was showing the girls her lab and all her equipment. She's a cosmetic chemist, and I was like, okay. And when I said her age, I'm like 28. Oh my gosh, I'm getting old.
Yeah, like I have students who celebrating their 30th birthday, and I'm like, wait, y'all, I'm only 40. What's happening?
But you only look like you're 30, sis. You only look like you're 30.
Only do it.
And that's that.
Do it.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Yes, he will. Yes,
but,
he will.
Queendom is actually like the thing that I feel really propelled me into being as confident as I am today to do what I do, because those young ladies did more for me than they often claim I did for them. And I actually just received a message from one recently. She said, I think we helped you out too, Ms. Hall. I said, you're absolutely right. Because the truth is, I wasn't sure if what I was doing was working, but they would always verify, Ms. Hall, we appreciate this. We need this. If I ever had to cancel, why? Are we gonna make up for this day? I mean, they wanted what I was offering, and so it empowered me to want to expand it even further across Baltimore City. So I'm grateful for that.
That is amazing. So if somebody is listening and they have a daughter that they feel would be a good fit for your program, what age group do you take? And when does the program start receiving new intakes?
So right now we're working through some select high schools in Baltimore City. And if they're enrolled in any of those schools, they're welcome to join as long as we have a mentor in place. And also usually starts around the first or second quarter of a school year. But in light of the pandemic, we've had sporadic meetings with young ladies because of trying to get them all together virtually. And that's been a little tough. But we're making plans to do a summit this summer. And so that'll be open to any young lady who feels inclined to receive what it is that we're going to offer, which is essentially mentoring and self-confidence and support. And so, and we run the program annually. It usually culminates in a crowning ceremony, which is why it's called Queendom. And we crown the girls with a character trait that they display throughout the year. It's usually a positive trait. So she could be Miss Courageous or something like that. And what I love about it is, again, I was extending my pageantry experience to young ladies the same way I extended that feeling of courage on stage to adults through the gala. So.
Awesome. And that age group is starting at?
Oh, I'm sorry, middle and high school. So yes, we primarily work with middle and high school girls. Over the years, we
you might have about 50 elementary students like knocking at your door, like I want to be a part. So we just wanted to make sure we do that. We stated that it is for middle and high school. It's such a rewarding feeling, being able to work with young ladies and being able to be proactive. Can you speak to that about being proactive on giving them the tools to love themselves, to understand that if you go through, if you see these warning signs, then you know you can kind of do this. So just being proactive. I'm very big. You hear this always on my show about, I'm always talking about this world has to be proactive on things so that we can stop being reactive and acting after it has happened, and and you have a whole lot of damage control that you have to take into play at that point. But if we're reactive, then we can prayerfully stop some of the things that could possibly happen.
Yes, absolutely. So again, Queendom was my version of being proactive and preventing sexual abuse, domestic violence from occurring. And also it was a direct lifeline for some girls who were actually experiencing it, who I had to file reports for as their teacher as well. And so in having every year in April and October, we hosted some type of campaign. It wasn't called Reveal Your Till at the time, but I always brought in speakers who could speak to how it looks to survive and how to heal, or what the signs of sexual abuse and trauma look like, and things like that. And one time I even had an author drive. Her name was Patty. I don't exactly know how to say her last name, but she wrote a book called Invisible Girls, and she donated enough copies for all the girls in my program. And she drove down from New York to speak to them.
Wow.
This was a few years ago, but those were the kind of resources that I was bringing in so that the girls were exposed. Now, to share, I did have one young lady who had reached out to me after graduating from high school about the lessons she had learned in Queendom. She had gotten into an abusive relationship with a young man, and she said it was in the moment that her face was bloody, she was in pain, and she had just finished physically fighting with him, that she remembered everything that was taught to her in Queendom. And she said all she could hear in her head at that time was Miss Hall would tell me to leave, well, Miss Hall would tell me to get out of this. And that was what helped her to walk away from that relationship early enough so that she didn't go into the cycle of accepting the apologies and repeating that process over and over again. She sent me pictures. She told me all this via text, and she sent me pictures of her face, and I was just overwhelmed because it had been years since I'd seen her in person or talked to her, and to know that she still relished in what was shared and taught through those workshops, it just helped me remember that none of that work was in vain.
Sometimes I often say that all of the money in the world to me can't replace when one of my youth have come back to share how I really have helped change their trajectory. And I just think that that's so powerful. That's so powerful that you helped that young lady to know this situation, this is not my life. This is not going to be my life. And I'm going to stop this right here and go get the help that I need so that I can, go on. So that is just so amazing. So amazing. I'm so
proud. I have to send her this interview afterwards so she can see what it looks like, even beyond where she is now, right? So she's even stronger now, because this happened a few years ago, but I want her to see where she can carry this even further. I don't want the young ladies or even the women that I talk to regularly to think that the education, the workshop, the sessions were just so they could get out, but it was so they could educate other people. Like, we got to keep passing the word on, just like African griots did in their villages, right? And so the more we spread the word, the more people will be aware. And the more we can break that whole cycle of sweeping it under the rug, keep it in the family, don't talk about it. It's just unnerving that still occurs.
Right, right. And listen, you always have a platform. Anytime you need to get the word out, give me a call. You always have a place in my heart. And anytime, like, you are doing God's work, and it's something about people that do God's work. When you do God's work, I'm all for you. Anything I can do. So you have a platform. They have a platform. If they feel like, look, I got this story and I need to get it out, and I can't wait to the gala, just give me a call and I'll have both of you guys come on. But Miss Jackie said that this is powerful. She said this is powerful. And our founder of Elevation Global Media, Cassandra Ferguson, said hi to you earlier.
Oh, I love Cassandra. She's another one of my personal resources that I bring into the classroom. She too has stood before my scholars and educated them. I mean, of course, not sexual abuse, but
right.
Everything that I can, that our community can give our kids, I'm willing to offer that to them. And she came in and talked to them about finances, and they were so excited. They walked away wanting to invest, and yes, I'm so glad to know she's here.
She talked to my young ladies just a couple months ago, so I know that is amazing, amazing. Such a small world, how everybody kind of, knows each other, and, just continue to pass on that cycle, that torch.
Absolutely.
Yes. So we talked about a couple of your businesses, but I feel like we're forgetting one. Is it one more that we're missing?
It's just ridiculous, right? How much I've got going on.
Look, listen, I am the wrong person to even ask that question to you, because look, my husband and my children are listening, and they're gonna be like, "You can't talk about anything, okay?" I'm gonna just go right on over that question and keep it moving, cause. But
I don't necessarily have another business, but I do have where you probably have seen a lot of me. I do a lot of speaking engagements, not just about these topics that we've spoken about tonight, but also education. I was a teacher of the year in 2018 in Baltimore City, so that leveraged me in the education world, and so I'm doing a whole lot more on that platform as well. And all of this stuff I try to intertwine, but sometimes it looks different. That's probably why you thought it was something else.
You know what? You're a published author.
Yes, I am.
That's what I was thinking of. I knew it was something I wanted to touch on, because you have written some bestsellers. You've been a co-author. You have been the visionary of some books, and just amazing. Can you share? I know one book in particular was Unholy Communion.
Yep.
Yep. Is that you want to talk about Unholy Communion?
Yes, I will. So that book took me almost 10 years to write. That is the story of my surviving sexual abuse as a young person. And that is also the one that became an Amazon bestseller, which I'm very proud of, with the help of my publishing house, which at the time was Purposely Created with Tasheen. And I hope she watches this, but I usually will publish on my own, but I had to get that done outside of me, because it was so much that I had to put into it to get it finished, get the manuscript finished. And I just wanted to be hands off the rest of that process, because I put my whole heart into that book. And I had intentions of extending it into a follow-up book. But honestly, Nicole, because of how in depth I went with my feelings, thoughts, and emotions, as Lil Quickly, as I call her, which is young LaQuisha, I just felt like I needed to step away from this for a little while so that I can continue to keep myself grounded. But that was the second book I think that I had come out. My very, very first one that I had ever published was called Positively Bodyful, which was a self-esteem journal for young girls. And of course, the girls in Queendom Tea had inspired me to write that one. And then over the years, I had been invited to various projects where I served as a co-author, where I supported other authors in publishing their own book on their own. And then also I had my collaboration where I was a visionary behind it, but the stories were written by these phenomenal survivors, and that was called Reposition Crowns. And I think it's over 12 books now that I've been a part of in my lifetime. So very proud of that.
Yes, awesome. And then one of the best books that I've heard about was a book that you and your class wrote.
You ain't gonna let nothing go.
We're gonna I'm telling them that this is a phenomenal woman. When I tell them something, I have to be the woman of my word and show them how phenomenal you are by highlighting it all. So we can put it all on the table.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, because I'll be honest with you, Nicole. I try my best to be humble in sharing what I've done, because unfortunately sometimes I've encountered situations where people don't want to hear all the stuff I've done. So, you know, I just try to keep it holy, praise the Lord. But but I was able to, as an educator, publish 5 books with 5 different classes of students. Might have been 6.
Wow.
We did one in the pandemic last year, and there's another one coming out this year with the one group of students that I wasn't able to publish. So all of the years that I published students was at Carver Vocational Technical High School in Baltimore City. And every year I was a teacher there, I published a book with the students that I taught. There was one year I didn't, and that was the year I won Teacher of the Year, because they filled my calendar with all this other stuff. So I didn't have time to like sit down and do what I did with my, you know, the other years of students that I taught. And this year is their senior year. And there's a teacher still at Carver, and she's actually a Mrs. H as well, who has taken up the mantle and said, I want to do the book project with the students that you used to teach. And they are the students that were with me when I won Teacher of the Year. So they'll be published this year.
Oh, wow. Awesome. 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 There's an author I want you to meet. Terry Johnson. She's a licensed clinical social worker, and she recently wrote a book, Body Safety Zones. And where she talks about telling children about where their body safety zones are, and what now hers, of course, is for the elementary kids. But I feel like that would be a great opportunity for you guys to talk and meet. So I'm gonna definitely make that happen.
Absolutely, I would love that.
So, man, this hour has flew by so fast. Miss Jackie says, Nicole, can you send me the names of her book? Yes, I definitely will. I will send you the names of her books, the ones that I can remember, because there's so many.
I'll send them to you so you don't have to remember.
Okay. And where they can be purchased at.
Absolutely.
So, LaQuisha, we have talked about so much in this hour. It went past. I feel like it's been like 5 minutes. You know, it's never a dull moment with you. Like, you just keep it. So I just could only imagine being in, you know, sitting there being a pupil in your class. I'm sure that just like, you know, glued to you, because you just like bring the life when you come into an area. Even when you entered into the radio station, like you didn't know Stacy, you like, hi Stacy, how you doing? You know, just that bubbly personality is just amazing. It is. It really is. So what would you like to leave our audience with this evening? So if you could tell them what you would like to leave them with, if there's anything that you wanted to share that we didn't get to, and of course your contact information.
Absolutely. So one of the things I want to share, you actually alluded to. Thank you. So one of the reasons why I go all out my way to speak to everyone in the room, so to speak, like I did with Stacy. Number one is because I'm from the South. You know, we just do that Southern hospitality. So I used to go to the grocery store and we spoke to everybody. It didn't matter if you knew them or not. But I think in today's society, it's essential for us to see each other, right? And so we're walking past each other daily, looking at each other's Zoom screen and not engaging. And I think it's important for us to be seen and heard right now, not just because of abuse or assault or anything like that, but just because there's so much hurt in the world right now. And then also this secret hurt that we don't even know exists, right? So people have engaged with me and not even had a clue that I was a survivor of abuse because of how I carry myself. But I have days too, Nicole, because healing is a lifelong process. Well, I still have to just take a step back from social media, from talking about this and all of that so that I can reground my own self.
Right.
And so I think it's important for us to be okay with
not being okay sometimes.
Yes, just acknowledge each other. You don't have to get all in their business or whatever, but hey, Stacy, girl, you look good on my bed. Lipstick you got on. Like, just say something so people know they were really seen. And another thing is stop asking people how you doing and accepting fine and walking away. You know, like, we know that there's more behind that word, and sometimes it's okay to just be like, are you really? And allowing that person to really take that 2 to 3 minutes to say, well, it's been a tough day, or, you know, I'm so excited, my birthday's coming up. People just want to be heard, and I want to be heard. And so I do have people in place that are always there for me to be in that space. I have to be extremely careful with who I share. Yeah. But essentially, just be kind to each other right now. We are all carrying some really heavy burdens. And then also, my final thought is I just want to share that we weren't born to stay on concrete. We were born to walk on gold. That is my quote that and I truly believe in it. Like, I just feel like we stay in these ordinary places and don't see ourselves at any higher levels. But I know for a fact, it has been demonstrated in my life that God has more for us, and we just got to see that golden level, right? And then we can go there. And finally, you can reach me on social media. If you're interested in my art, I'm at Confident Canvas on all social media platforms. If you're interested in my education career and things like that, it's Mrs. Hall Scholars. And I'll be more than happy to type this on the comments on your page. Okay. And then finally, just LaQuisha Hall on all other platforms. And just remembering that our calling isn't just to be, you know, regular or mediocre, but we can do great things. And the level of greatness is objective. Like, some people might look at what I'm doing and say, well, that's not enough. You haven't done this nationally. If I've done enough in God's eyes, that is a great work. And
how about if you have changed one child's trajectory, you have done your work. So
absolutely. You know it's not ever one child. We always say that it ain't ever one child. That one child got friends, and their friends want to be your friend because that child is your friend. You know what I mean? Like, that one child's life turns into multiple lives, truly. And so, yes, absolutely, I agree. Thank you for sharing that.
You are so welcome. Just say your quote one more time. It was just so phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. So, we weren't born to stay on concrete. We were born to walk on gold.
We weren't born to stay on concrete. We were born to walk on gold. Well, I will keep that. That'll definitely be one of my quotes that I share on the show. I love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today, LaQuisha. You really dropped some gems. You've been transparent. You've been, just wonderful. And I just truly thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of the work that you're doing to help not only sexual assault survivors, but even our babies, so that they won't have to become a sexual assault survivor. So thank you.
Thank you for never hesitating to bring me on your platform.
So thank you all for joining us this week. Next week we will have a rerun because I am going on vacation. Yes, I will be on vacation. Thank the Lord. But don't forget to visit our website at www.ewbiradio.org. If you're looking for a sisterhood of women who support each other, we provide personal and professional development. We offer a micro grant. It's just an amazing opportunity, and we would love to have you. So visit our website at www.ewbiradio.org. Check us out on social media. Facebook, we're on by Empowered Women in Business International. IG, EWB_INTL. If you are seeking any type of services or products, visit our page, our website. We have our members directory with all of our members and all of the services that they offer. Don't forget to keep it locked right here every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on EWBI radio show on the Elevate Your Life Talk radio station. Individually, we can do great things, but collectively, we can forever change the world by Nick Mosby. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and don't forget to tune in every Tuesday at 7 p.m.